Okay guys, so today I want to talk through one of the biggest debates in property investment and investment in general, and that is ROI, ROCE and yield. What one's the best and why? Now I'm going to explain what each of them are and also expand around what I think is the best one to use at the right time. So just quickly whilst we're going through it. So first of all, you have got yield. Now, the problem with all of these descriptions and definitions is there's so many ways of thinking about it. So you can go gross yield or net yield all the way through. And then if we went to ROI, which is return on investment, or ROCE, pretty much the same thing in property. Again, you've got your gross or your net. Now, I'm going to aim this at property investment, but also if you're not in property, this is how you approach investment in general. So with yield, if you're looking at property when you're going through, if you purchase a £100,000 property and you are, not that you would get this, just to make it easy, you are getting a rent of £10,000 a year, or 833 a month, whatever it is, £10,000 a year, you would have 10,000 over 100,000, which is 1 in 10, which is a 10%, okay? So 10% yield. So the easiest way of thinking of this is if you had £100,000 in the bank, what would it get? Now, the problem with this interest or yield rate is it's not actually reflected in any way as a return on your investment. Okay, so if you could have a property, and let's just take these numbers off here. If you have these returns, so if you've got a £100,000 property and you purchase it with a mortgage, normally with a mortgage you're going to get 75% loan to value, which means your cash is going to be 25,000 or 25%. You might have some stamp duty at £3,000. You might have your legals, etc. Let's say 1,500 on there. So there'll be some other figures, but your cash in on that is 29,500. Nice awkward number to work with for me. So £29,500. So that's your cash in, okay? So on that, you're going to have your yield, say there's £10,000 coming in, which you wouldn't, by the way, I should probably be more realistic and say 5,000. So let's say £5,000. Your yield is of the purchase price of the property. So the yield of this is the gross yield anyway, and gross is before costs, is going to be 5%. Okay, a 5% yield, i.e. you are getting £5,000 on a £100,000 property. The problem is that's not really reflective. And obviously, yes, it's good. You obviously measure yield against yield. Is it better or worse? But I always think your net returns are going to be more effective. You know, so understanding your net yield, so minus the cost of some things. But even that's not very accurate. It's ego metrics, and it's usually what you put out. So a lot of investors will go, I want a 6% yield or a 7% yield. That's fine, and if they want it like that, I'll put it in front of them like that. But normally when I'm sending out brochures, I'll put yield on like the first level stuff. And then when an investor gets in touch, I'll understand their situation a lot more. So I'll know what mortgage they're using, or what leverage they're using, what finance they're using, what are their costs of finance, what insurance they're using, all of those things. So I can work out a net and then work out the return on capital. So again, if we looked at this, again, these numbers are going to be confusing. So I am going to get my phone out and calculate this one so I don't screw it up. But if we look at this same thing here and we just take this away, if we looked at the return on investment or the return on capital employed, what we're looking at is, think about this part here, your cash, your capital. What money have you actually got left in the deal? So this is the great thing about property, by the way, is leverage. That's what makes it so powerful, is that actually you are using debt, in this case good debt, to pay you money. Okay, so if you got a gross yield of 5%, already you're probably pretty happy because in the bank you're getting 0% point nothing, right? Or negative interest rates potentially coming up if you watch my other video. But so 5% is going to be pretty exciting anyway. But if we're looking at the return on capital or the return on cash actually in the property, ROCE, and you can do this before refinance and after refinance, by the way, we're going to see a very different figure. Now, this is where I think it's really important to be net. So if you've got your £5,000 a year, that's your gross figure, okay? But if we look at the net, we need to take off costs. So you're going to have your mortgage payment, which might be, I don't know, 2 grand of that 5 grand. You're going to have your insurance, your void periods, maintenance, management, all of that. So in general, you can pretty much slash it in half straight away, give or take. So let's say your net return isn't £5,000. Instead, your net return after all costs, and again, obviously I'm not breaking down these figures bit by bit. I've done those in previous videos. Let's say it's £2,500. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at as a net return is 2,500 divided by 29,500. Okay, so if we said within that, let's call it 30,000 within that, yeah, 30,000. I think that's about an 8% return. So we've got 29,500, but let's just double check. Yeah, okay. So if we called it 30,000, our net return is going to be our net income. So we've minused off our imaginary mortgage, insurance, and things like that. We're left with 2,500. And we're dividing that by the money left in. Let's call it 30,000. It's 29,500, but let's call it 30,000 to make it easy. Okay. So what we're doing with that figure and what it's coming out as a percentage is 2.5 over the 30 is 8.33% return, okay, annualized. That's before refinance, okay? So hopefully that's more telling, because the reason I prefer return on capital or return on cash employed over a yield is it's actually telling me what I'm getting for my money against alternative investments. If I put it in stocks and shares, what am I getting? If I put it in the bank, what am I getting? If I put it under my mattress, what am I getting? And so at that point, I can make an accurate and trusted and verified decision about where I'm going to put my money. So is that a good property investment? That's not for me to decide, okay? The investment is down to the investor and what your risk is and what exposure you want and what returns you want to get. But ultimately, I want to understand what I am actually going to get in my pocket on a yearly basis. First, what cash I've put in. And I'm getting 8.33%. That's definitely better than what I'm getting in the bank. That's a pretty incredible return as an investment. And that is the decision I'm going to make the investment based upon. So yes, there's then after refinance. So for example, if I then increase the value of that property by putting a refurbishment in, it might be worth 120,000. And then I might refinance and I might only have £15,000 left in. And if I'm getting 2,500 for 15%, suddenly my return's gone up quite dramatically. We're now talking in the teens, the high teens. However, I cannot guarantee what a refinance is going to get in. So for me personally, I enjoy, or I think the best way of measuring this is the net return on capital employed or cash employed or invested, and that's what I'm going to work my investments out on, and what I encourage my investors to work out their return on, because then you've got a complete comparable. So if you're getting, let's say you're even getting 3% in the bank, right, I'm going to get 5.33% more for a little bit of increased risk. Is that a worthwhile investment for me? So that's where I'm coming from. This is not investment advice, just my opinion on what I think you should be measuring for. So let me know. Do you invest on yield, net or gross? Do you invest on your return on capital or your ROI, your return on investment? Let me know in the comments and help me understand why you agree with me or don't agree with me. If you got value from this video, make sure to hit the like button. And of course, remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I'll see you in the next video this Friday.